Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Capital Club in DIFC Dubai and to the tomorrow's Africa Summit. The 30th of September is a very special date for three reasons. The first reason is that you're all here. Thank you. Thank you for coming and filling this event here today. The second reason is that we are graced with the presence of so many ambassadors, excellencies here with us today. The third reason why the 30th of September is important is that on this very day, exactly on the day 25 years ago, I founded Sense Strategy. And we're going to start a little bit with the story of Sense and also the deep roots in innovation. We're going to continue for most of the afternoon about the amazing opportunity that is the continent of Africa. And around 4:30, 4:40, we are going to have a little bit of a celebration, drinks and canopies over here. There's going to be mingling opportunities with everybody here this afternoon. Now, we're going to begin with the story of Sense and the deep roots in innovation. Please play the video. Now, what always amazes me with this story is not only the invention of the oil tanker by my great-grandfather and Ludwig Nobel, but more importantly, what happened straight after. They decided to not lock this to one family, one religion, one country, but open up the technology for all countries to use. That, ladies and gentlemen, your excellencies, that is open standards already in 1878. And that, in my view, is how innovation should be done. Now we're going to explore the opportunities of Africa. We're going to run a little light-hearted or a little presentation on Africa before we start the panel discussions. So we're going to start easy with a familiar shape. And here it comes. I think that you all recognize the shape of this one. And I guess that no one here in this room watches American movies, right? Nobody, right? Not a single one. I thought so. But if you were to watch American movies, you would notice that in almost half of them, the Hollywood movies, you have somebody traveling from the east to the west, either to explore his inner feelings or run from the police or something else, right? Something exciting. And it always takes them not 1 day, 3 days, 4 days, a week, 2 weeks to go from coast to coast. So the United States is big, but the question is this. Would the map of the United States to scale fit inside of the African continent? Who thinks it's going to fit inside? Who thinks it doesn't fit inside? A few of you. All right. And if you fit, sorry, let's just try it out. It's simpler. Surprised? This is Africa and the US to scale, and it gets confused, misunderstood in popular culture. Not only Hollywood gets it wrong. Shall we try if we could fit Europe whilst we are doing this? That is Europe. If there are any Europeans here, apologies that we chopped up the map of Europe and placed it over Africa. But this is Europe to scale. Since we are having so much fun right now, let's throw in China as well, shall we? That is China to scale. And whilst we're at it, why not throw in India and Japan as well, right? That's India and Japan. Surprised? Now, we have forgotten one country, which is the great nation that hosts the capital club, the IFC, Dubai, in the UAE. So there is the UAE. And if you sum all of these up, you get to 27 million square kilometers. That's pretty impressive. Big number, huh? But look at Africa, 30 million square kilometers. It's 12% larger than all these entities taken together. That's not how we usually think about it, is it? And we don't think about it because every day, every week, whether we go on CNN, we read the newspaper, we go online, we see a square map, which is an adaptation of a sphere, right? And to make up for a round sphere on a square map, you have to fill out the empty spaces. And that inflates all the countries to the north of the equator, and it also inflates the far south. And that means we get a distorted way of the world, including the size of Africa. Another thing, we usually hear that China and India are the biggest countries in terms of population, and they are. And you probably noticed that India surpassed China in terms of total size of its population. That happened last year. And they are huge, 1.4 billion, but Africa has 1.5 billion people, and usually we don't speak about that. Speaking about speaking, there are over 2,000 indigenous languages in Africa spoken, and 75 languages which have more than 1 million speakers. So Africa has, for sure, size. I think we can agree on that. Africa also has diversity. I think we can all agree on that. But I understand, I can see what you're thinking now, because half of you are successful business people, investors, and the other half are super successful diplomats, and from all crafts and professions are gathered here today in this room. So you are thinking it has size, it has diversity, but does it have growth, right? Does it have economic growth? So let's find out. Now, here are the facts of the matter. These are the latest figures from IMF and Bloomberg. And you can see that EU 27 is growing at the moment between 1 and 2% in terms of GDP. Well, that's better than being in a recession, right? But it's not that impressive. The United States, with the Hollywood movies that you don't watch, right? They are growing between 2 and 3%, a little bit better. Look at the UAE, 3.5 to 4.2%, very impressive. You've gotten it right. Your Excellency, you've gotten it right, for sure. Then take a look at the countries on the far right of this graph here. We got Zimbabwe, and we have Uganda, between 6.5% and 7% growth rates, according to Bloomberg and IMF. Surprised? I just wish that we had somebody in the audience with us now from Uganda or Zimbabwe. Oh, but of course we do. Thank you. So this is the true picture. And then someone of you may go like, all right, so it's better to have 7% than 2%, right? Or 1%. But does it really matter? Well, we as a company, we've been around for 25 years. Do you want to see what the world will look like 25 years in the future? Anyone wants that? Hands up. If you don't raise your hands now, I'm not going to show the slide. So let's have a look at the world in 2050. This is the world in 2050, actually to the right-hand side graph. So what is the shift that is happening? The shift that is happening is that Europe, Russia, and Canada and the United States will actually retract with about 23% in terms of its share of the world economy. This is the shift that we are witnessing right now. So who's going to be the winner of this? Well, Latin America, to a smaller extent, about 1% net gain of the world economy. China, of course, everybody guessed that already, 2%. But the interesting thing with this is that it's only 2%, because China has gained in momentum. They have gained in enormous economic might over the past 2 decades. But they're actually slowing down now. So the additional net gain is going to be less, right? Look at who are the real winners in this great geo-economic shift that we are witnessing. Asia Pacific, around 4% net gain. Africa and India, between 6 and 7% net gain of the world economy. Ladies and gentlemen, Your Excellencies, the greatest shift that we're going to see over the next 25 years in the world is the rise of Africa. And now I can see a familiar face at the back end here, and he is actually reaching for his mobile phone at the back end. And I know what he's thinking. He's actually grabbing his mobile phone because he's going to call his broker. And he's going to say, kindly change my pension capital now from the US to Africa. But he can't do that because I asked him to switch off the phone. So seriously, the question is, was he the first to understand this shift? And as a matter of fact, he was not, because the gentleman of this great nation already foresaw this. So we have, from the UAE, Etisalat's acquisition of Maroc Telecom with 11 Western and North African opcos, direct investment in Etisalat, Misr, Egypt, and so forth. And we have two gentlemen on the front row that were instrumental here to my right and to my left. We're going to have the Chief Operative Officer up on stage of EAND and EAND International. And we also have His Excellency here that saw this great transition and led the international investments of Etisalat back in the days. We have Mazda Renewable Energy investing heavily, DP World, AD Ports, MR, Saudi Aramco, Qatar Airways, the Kibedi Fund for Arab Economic Development. So massive investments overall. Look at just a single year, 2023. Last year, pledges of $53 billion investment, direct investments straight into Africa. That is 4 times the amount of the US with the Hollywood movies. So that's great and very impressive. So they have seen it. And in fact, the UAE and the GCC is a major investor in Africa and a major player in Africa right now. Another company that saw a bit of this, you may recognize, was this company here. I think you recognize it. So Sen Strategy started to work in Africa in 2005, the first project in Africa that we had. That was for Ericsson back in the days. And after that, we have worked in a total of 12 countries in the renewable energy sector and also oil and gas in Africa. And we have worked with a group of, in total, over 25 African nations. We have worked in the telecom sector on M&A, on strategy, on transformation matters. And just over 35 African nations, we have worked with the ministries on digital transformation matters, and we worked with various organizations that invest in Africa, both for commercial reasons and those that do it as part of world economic development. So this is a little bit what, very few things. We have not been very busy over the past 25 years, so we've been very, very lazy, as you can see. Now, I'm going to close the presentation, and without further ado, I'm going to invite somebody to the stage that, just wait for it, is coming from a nation that has seen its exports increase 22% year on year, not for a single year, exports to the UAE, but for 10 years in a row on average, which means a growth of about 7,000% of exports to the UAE. It's also a nation that runs 99% of its power grid on renewable energy. And it's a nation that has about 6.5 billion barrels of proven oil reserves, most of it discovered in the past decade and a half. It's also a nation that hosts more, like that was not enough, it also hosts more than half of the wild mountain gorillas in the world. And I'm talking, of course, of the great nation of Uganda. And it's my great pleasure here to invite to the stage His Excellency Zaake Kibedi, the ambassador of Uganda to the UAE. Please. My first question to you is 99% renewable energy. How is that even possible? In terms of your power grid, how did you achieve that?
Thank you so much for the wonderful introduction. You have almost said everything about Uganda. But just to add on what he has said is true, 99% of our energy is renewable. Out of the 99%, 93% is hydro power generated from the waterfalls along the longest river in the world, that's River Nile. And then 6% of this is solar energy. And companies like he has talked about, already we are having 2 companies from UAE that are adding to this progress. Mazda, the sidelines of COP28, Mazda just signed an agreement with the Ministry of Energy to start with generation of 150 megawatts of solar energy. Then within the course of 5 years, it will be scaled up to 1,000. And also we have another company here, Amia Power. It just signed the agreement during COP28, but 2nd of August this year, they established their first plant in Arua to produce 20 megawatts of solar. But what is interesting about their second project, which they are going to do in Karamoja, it is going to generate 200 megawatts of renewable energy, but a hybrid of both solar and wind energy. It's going to be the first, if I'm not mistaken, the first of its kind technology in Uganda and Africa, where during the plant will be generating 120 megawatts of solar and at night 80 megawatts of wind. So that makes Uganda to have a very high energy, clean mix of renewable energy.
I think that's worth an applause. Now, we are here in a nation that, well, hundreds of years ago it was pearl fishing, then it was oil, and now it's so much more in the UAE. But traditionally it built its wealth on oil. And you have major discoveries. You have 6.5 million barrels proven, out of which at least 1.4 billion is able to, you will be able to extract from the mountains of Uganda and so forth. You're also building a pipeline to the coast in Tanzania. Can you tell us a little bit about this project and the status, what is happening, and so forth?
Interesting. The story is that in 2006, Uganda discovered oil. And then in 2013, an act of parliament established the Uganda National Oil Company, which was incorporated in 2015. And the major mandate of the National Oil Company is to do the commercial part of the oil industry and also to develop in-depth expertise in the sector of oil and gas. And apparently, 2 places which are being developed where they are doing the exploitation of oil, that is Kingfisher in Hoima district. And also there is one at Tilenga. And altogether, the investment is going to be about $8 billion. Already 2 companies are doing the work there. That is Total from France and Sinopec from China. And also under the Uganda National Oil Company, we have 2 subsidiary companies. The company of the Uganda refinery. This one also, part of the oil is going to be exported as crude oil through the pipeline, which is quite long. It's going to run about 1,445 kilometers from Uganda to Tanga, that is in Tanzania. And already the construction is ongoing, but also part of the oil is going to be refined for domestic use and also used in the region. And that's why Uganda is now in the process of also doing the establishment of the oil refinery. And the investment is going to be about $500 billion. So there are many opportunities in here from the downstream, midstream, and the upstream. So it's the reason why end of November, the last week of November, we are organizing a business trip to Uganda for oil companies from UAE that are interested to come and see by themselves and explore, because there is a saying that seeing is believing. For me, as a diplomat, I may not tell you all the technical opportunities that are there, but when you come as an expert, you see so many opportunities in that area.
Wonderful. I'm definitely on that trip, so thank you.
Thank you so much. Maybe one thing I would like to add that also in this area where the oil is being exploited, the government of Uganda is setting up an industrial park. And this industrial park is also going to attract so many investment opportunities because to begin with, it's where they are building the second international airport of Uganda, majorly to do cargo exports. And it's almost 80% complete. They're also going to set up, this industrial park is going to be phased in 6 categories, where we shall have a section for petrochemical industries, agro-industry. Then we shall have other elements like real estate, housing, hospitality, and other related investments.
Wonderful. Now, according to the last statistics, your FDI has increased, inwards FDI has increased 79% year on year to approximately $2.9 billion US, according to the latest available statistics of the full year 2023. Apart from investment in oil and raw materials, what are the investments going into?
Very interesting. The other investments from UAE to Uganda, apart from oil, apart from renewable energy, agro-industry, and the agri-business, it has attracted companies like Rulu Group. Now also Al-Dahara has come on board, Elite Agro in tea industry, among others, but also hospitality and tourism. In April this year, Sharjah Chamber of Commerce and Industry signed an agreement with government of Uganda to participate in the development of one of the tourist parks in Uganda. We have 7 tourism parks in Uganda. One of them is called Kidepo. So in nearby Kidepo area, Sharjah Chamber of Commerce is setting up the 3rd international airport to facilitate tourists, especially from this region, to come to Uganda, because already Air Arabia is flying to Uganda. So they want to make it easy for tourists that when you reach Entebbe, you just fly to Kidepo. And after phase 1, where they are, after the airport is completed, they are going to build, according to the agreement, 15 hotels. So it's going to become like an Arab village, where you would find all facilities that could be comfortable and attractive to the tourists from this region when it's hot. From the month of June to September, it will be attractive for them to fly to Uganda because it's only 5 hours flight. Connectivity has become better because we have 5 direct flights from UAE to Uganda daily. Emirates, Fly Dubai operates 2 flights a day. We have Uganda Airlines and also Air Arabia from Sharjah every day. So it's going to be easy for them. And also, they're investing still, Sharjah Chamber of Commerce, in education. They are setting up international polytechnics. You see, another advantage or asset we have as Uganda is the people, their people. 70% of our population are below the age of 30, well educated, because we have free primary education and secondary education. And our first language I don't know whether it's fortunately or unfortunately it's English. So it's easy to train them. So when you hear discussions that in the world for the demands of labor, should we go robots? Should we do what? You talk about also sustainability. What materials are you going to use to make these robots? Why don't you take advantage of countries like Uganda, which is the second in the world to have the youngest population, to train the young people that are there to do for you the job? I would like to invite the companies that are here, come and take advantage of this.
Thank you. In just a moment, we're going to invite one more speaker to the stage. But before we do that, I have one more question. How can I visit the White Mountain gorillas? Can I see them?
Yes, very interesting.
Yeah.
Because the timing is perfect.
Yeah.
That from now until October next year, we've signed up agreements with stakeholders to make it easy for travelers from here to Uganda that would be interested to tour Uganda to have heavy discounts for all the services from end to end. We've signed an agreement at the sidelines of the Arabian travel market. We signed an agreement between Uganda Tourism Board and Emirates Airlines to facilitate whoever is traveling to Uganda now with a substantial discount for the travel, and also Uganda Airlines. And in second week of November, we are doing a farm trip where, I don't know if your time allows, because Uganda Airlines has given us for this purpose 7 air tickets for return as promotion of this farm trip. If we can do raffle for 1 ticket, say that one of the lucky winners here can join this trip to come and see by yourselves. But also, we've signed agreements with other stakeholders like the hotel owners, the travel operators, to make it very affordable and convenient to come and tour. Because why? It would be easier for you than any other country. As you rightly said in the beginning, that Uganda is a home of 50% of mountain gorilla. It's very true. And the good news is that since 2006, the population has been gradually increasing. So in Uganda, we have 4 families of the mountain gorillas that are habituated, meaning that they are trained to relate with people without any harm, and I've personally done it twice. Not that I'm just talking about it as an ambassador. I have the certificate. Once you do it, you get a certificate, and it's a very interesting experience. So besides that, besides the mountain gorillas, Uganda has so many other attractions to tour. I talked about the longest river in the world. You can do rafting on River Nile. Then you can also sail on the second largest fresh water lake in the world. That's Lake Victoria. So, and by the way, for your information, I'm happy to note that you are from Sweden. And your crown princess was named after this Lake Victoria.
How have you such insights into our royalty?
Thank you.
Speaking of journeys, and of course, a great proportion of this crowd you're going to see now in the mountains of Uganda with the gorillas coming next season.
And the snow at the equator. I don't know if you've ever heard about the snow. It's in only Uganda where you find the snow at the equator, because Uganda is astride the equator. You can have one part of the country in the northern hemisphere and one part in the southern hemisphere.
So it's one of the extremely few countries that are actually to scale on the world map, together with Ecuador
and with the
Equatorial Guinea.
And with the best weather in the world, because the weather in Uganda 12 months a year is like the UAE winter, or for Europe, is the European summer.
Perfect. You were speaking about royalty a moment ago, and you mentioned our crown princess, and indeed, her name is Victoria, and she's going to take over the throne. It's going to be a lady on the throne, just like they had in England quite recently. And now she, her namesake gave the name to various things. So we're going to do, this audience here today is going to do a travel of 2,000 kilometers. Are you ready for it? Are you geared up to do a travel of 2,000? I see a lot of nods here. Yeah, you are ready to go 2,000 kilometers. So we're going to go 2,000 kilometers from the Victoria Lake in Uganda to the Victoria Falls.
Yes.
And we have been talking up until now about black gold. Now we're going to talk about real gold and diamonds. And we're going to talk about the country with a very romantic railroad taking you to, yes, you guessed it, the Victoria Falls. Please give a warm welcome to His Excellency, Ambassador Lovemore Mazemo, Ambassador of Zimbabwe to the UAE. So, Ambassador Lovemore, I just need to start by saying that it's my firm belief that if only more people had your first name, what a wonderful world would this be. So, but I must also ask you, is the railway the best way to experience the Victoria Falls and the mighty Zambezi River?
Thank you, Erik. First, to say thank you to you and Sense Strategy for sharing your very special day with us. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for sparing time to be with us. Yes, the Victoria Falls. The tourist coaches are actually an excellent way of approaching the Victoria Falls, especially if you are starting your journey from the neighborhood, from the vicinity, which lies in the our largest game park, the Wanume. The coaches and the railway line are much better because they veer off into the countryside, away from the noisy highways, and so your chance of encountering wildlife are much greater. And you can ride on the coach, see wildlife, approach the Victoria Falls until you are on the bridge that straddles the mighty Zambezi River. But of course, your 4x4 is another very good option, particularly if you're coming from a long distance. But it also allows you to ride the roads and the terrain, especially if you're going to veer off and go onto the game drives. So your 4x4 is your best bet as well. But besides the road and rail, you can fly to the Victoria Falls from any of our major cities in Zimbabwe. And land at the Victoria Falls International Airport, which can handle any size of commercial flights. But once you land at the Victoria Falls, you can also view the falls by air. We have commercial operators that can take you on the helicopter, and you can approach the falls from different angles. But besides that, there are high adrenaline activities, like on the mighty Nile River. You can also do white water rafting along the Zambezi. You can do your zip lining across the falls. You can do your bungee jumping as well. And the neighborhood is surrounded by a lot of animal life as well. Zimbabwe is the host to the second largest elephant population in the world, next only to Botswana, which is our neighbor. And this is, so you can see these beautiful jumbos. You can see any type of wildlife, the big five, all within the neighborhood. And like our friends in Uganda, Victoria Falls is becoming a special economic zone dedicated to tourism. So there is major attraction there. Because it's a tourist resort, it's a magnet for conferences. So there's lots of opportunities for investment in hotel accommodation and conference services as well.
Thank you. Now, Ambassador Kibedi, a moment ago, you clearly had inside information into the Royal House of Sweden. And Ambassador Lovemore, you have, in a recent interview, and I'm going to quote that in a second, you've shown great insights into the spirit of the United Arab Emirates nation. I'm going to read the quote, and it goes like this. UAE is a place for dreamers, but when these ideas are thrown out there, we have actually witnessed that the UAE runs with these ideas and they become a reality. I think that's beautiful. That's worth an applause. Ambassador Lovemore, tell us more. What have you witnessed? Which projects have you seen take shape based on dreams of Emirati or GCC businessmen investing in your country and region?
Thank you very much. I certainly stand by that quotation, and thank you for repeating it. I would like to attach the word vision to the word dream. I believe anybody would agree that coming to this place broadens your horizon of what is possible. And we are privileged to be here and to witness what has happened. Just one thing, the way the UAE has diversified away from or in addition to oil is magnificent. It's a beautiful story. We are definitely tapping into that in terms of business culture. But we have already seen a lot happening in our own country in those projects that we're doing in partnership with investors from this market. Within a very short space of time, I can count up to 30 UAE-based companies that are already in operation in Zimbabwe. I will single out a few sectors. We are building a whole new capital city in Zimbabwe, just outside the current Harare. And part of it is going to be a huge smart city. We have investors from here that are already part of that. And equipment and ideas have already begun to roll, and something is already on the ground. So real estate, in terms of bringing up a whole new capital city, is an area for potential investors from here. In the tourism sector, which is very big and significant in Zimbabwe, we have a partnership already with a number of companies that are already constructing and refurbishing existing hotels, which they will then put under management of big international brands. There is a huge scope also in that sector. In the area of energy, Zimbabwe is industrializing very, very fast, and the demand for energy is so high. There's a huge energy gap. But this is not only in Zimbabwe, but in the whole region of Southern Africa, including South Africa, our the biggest economy in the region. So there's a huge gap, and some of the companies that he mentioned are already active. Amir Power, Sky Power. Some I will not mention because we have not put the ink on the paper yet, but there's as much as 2,600 gigawatts worth of projects that we are working on right now. But the two companies I named, Sky Power and Amir Power, are already on the ground, and there's a lot going on already. A lot of interest has been made in the area of mining. You mentioned gold. Yes. From this market, the major interest has been in gold, as well as lithium. Zimbabwe has the largest reserves of lithium on the African continent. Lithium, copper, and cobalt are some of your strategic and critical minerals for the e-batteries and the e-vehicles. And I must say there's a huge interest already from the international community. We have partners from this market that are already coming into that. The food security area, we have a lot of partnership. We are glad that some of our fresh produce is already coming to this market, and having tasted and marketed some of it, a number of companies from this market are already coming to Zimbabwe. They want to farm and grow the product for the domestic consumption and for export as well. And so that's another area. And some of the companies that my brother mentioned, again, our partners in the area of agriculture. So the opportunities are huge and great. Maybe I could end on the trade side to say that the UAE, within a very short space of time, has become our second largest trading partner. UAE is now Zimbabwe's second largest trading partner after our neighbor, South Africa. 2023, the volume of trade was about $3.2 billion. By virtue of their value, precious minerals are the largest. They take the biggest part on the pie chart. That's gold and diamonds. And these are being traded through the DMCC, the Dubai Multi-Commodity Center. Next to those precious minerals is what we in Zimbabwe call the golden leaf. Not so golden in other people's eyes, and that's tobacco. We are a major producer of tobacco in Zimbabwe, but we are not a major producer of tobacco products. So the value chain has lots of space for investors to actually invest in. 98% of the tobacco we produce presently goes abroad as raw. We are fortunate to have climatic conditions that produce a rare flavor of tobacco. So even countries that produce more tobacco than we do, they rush for our tobacco auctions in Zimbabwe because they need our tobacco for blending. So these are some of the commodities that are finding their place on this market. Thank you.
So you mentioned your brother sitting next to you here of Uganda, and sometimes it's healthy with a little bit of sibling rivalry, right? So we mentioned the 22% year-on-year increase over the past 10 years, which is like almost a world record in terms of exports increase over the past 10 years. Now, only thing is that Uganda has 2% more year-on-year increase over the past 10 years. No, not to say that there's any rivalry between the two of you, but which means with interest on interest, you have increased something like 8,000% your exports over the past 10 years to the UAE. That's worth another applause. And Ambassador Lovemore, you have been recently the permanent observer to ECOWAS, which is the Western African States Economic Community. And you were also the ambassador of Zimbabwe in Nigeria, in the permanent representative for COMESA, which is the common market for the Eastern and Southern African states, and the latter being the largest economic community in Africa, with 19 member states. And that alone has a combined population of 390 million. Now, Africa is a vast continent, and many have probably not fully realized the economic communities that exist in Africa and has existed for decades, and doing wonderful work in terms of the progression, the economic and social development and economic progression over these vast areas with these vast populations. Can you just comment a little bit about the RECs, the regional economic communities of Africa, the role that they play and the work that is being done?
Thank you very much. It's a very important question, especially now that we have the Continental Free Trade Area to talk about. The founding fathers of the continent, as early as the founding years of the Organization of African Unity, which is now the African Union, always had at the back of their mind the vision of bringing together the continent, whether in terms of the economic integration or political integration. So as early as 1980, they adopted what was called the Lagos Plan of Action, and they underlined that in 1991 with the Abuja Treaty. Both of these were created to establish or establish regional or sub-regional units. And these, in a way, became the dress rehearsals for the continental body coming together. These regional bodies were meant to assist countries within their own neighborhood on economic integration in particular, how to break down the borders, develop trade amongst themselves, develop cross-border investment. And in fact, they went further to actually help each other, even politically, in terms of establishing stability within the region, promoting dialogue and so forth. So this has been happening for years in the sub-regions of the continent. And the idea was that these sub-regional pillars would then build what is now the continental body, developing a continental integration, because the experience is already there, the benefits are already visible, and most of the groundwork has already been done. It becomes a little easier to bring together these small islands that have already formed into a bigger continental body. So economic integration on the continent is quite big, and it has been built on the basis of the Lagos Plan of Action and the Abuja Treaty.
So I'm not sure if you remember what you did on the 1st of January 2021. You were probably like us in lockdown in COVID somewhere on the planet. And that is the day that the African Continental Free Trade Agreement went into force. And this was a little bit forgotten because we speak about the NAFTA, which is from the 1990s, the European Union and the ASEAN community of free trade areas. But now we have one for Africa as well, the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. Ambassador Kibedi, please comment a little bit. What do you think it will mean for Africa, for Uganda, and for the Eastern African states?
Thank you so much. According to the objectives for the establishment of this framework, it means free movement of goods and services, which is facilitated by free movement of people, meaning that it's making it easier for countries to trade amongst each other, which also facilitates movement of capital, movement of investment, and also creates a platform for competition, which is healthy to ensure that our economies are competitive. And it's the reason why, if I'm right, the projections show that in the next decade, 4 out of 5 countries with the highest growth rates are going to be African countries. So I think this is contributing towards this. And it also brings together industrial development. So, and as Ambassador said, Lovemore, that it's not only Zimbabwe, but most of the African countries, most of our exports are still raw. So when we see this kind of framework supporting industrial development, it brings about value addition, which is highly needed to enhance on foreign exchange income of our countries. So we have high expectations out of it.
Excellent. We're going to talk over the next, let's say, 30 to 40 minutes. We're going to explore a little bit more digitalization issues, the economic progress as triggered by digitalization. Just as a little piece of fact, when we are still on the subject of the Eastern and Southern Africa, the East African Community, Hegazy and Zaake, according to recent statistics from GSMA, mobile penetration in both these regions are close to almost exactly 50%. And more than 50% of those that have mobile phones now have smartphones. So it's not like it was 10 years ago when everybody was walking around with a Nokia. It's smartphones now. Not only that, the highest, also according to GSMA, the highest growth rate in smartphones on the planet is actually in sub-Saharan Africa. What are your views with all this impressive economic development and digital economies that are also starting to get on the so-called classic hockey stick. You know, I come from the Nordic countries, so Nordic country, Sweden, we like to play ice hockey. You know, so the ice hockey stick is this development that goes up very fast, and that is what you are experiencing now in terms of digitalization. But what is your view? If we start with Ambassador Kibedi on what has been done and what needs to be done for the digital transformation in Uganda.
Okay. First of all, digitalization is one of the primary impetuses for economic growth and development because it facilitates for innovation, creativity. So for a country like Uganda, where you have so many young people, it avails them an opportunity to have knowledge in their hands, and also it helps them to be creative. I remember during COVID, I read about one Ugandan lady whose business had closed due to the lockdown. She was running a grocery, so she thought that now as a single mother, what shall I do during this lockdown? So she went on YouTube using her smartphone, learned how to make mats, what you could say house mats out of waste, the reused waste, and it earned her a living. So you find that through the innovation hubs that have been created by the Ministry of Information and Communication Technology in Uganda, it has facilitated so many innovations that has facilitated growth in areas of agro-industry, in areas of innovation, and as a result, jobs have been created. Jobs have been created because a country with a young population, you need to look at how you create opportunities for young people, and this is a sector that has been growing so fast, but also creating so many opportunities for the young people.
Absolutely.
And what needs to be done? What needs to be done is to make it more accessible and affordable, such that every Ugandan can access it by having affordable internet in all parts of the country, which is part of the new policy that has been developed, policy, the Innovation and Digital Policy 2023 of Uganda, to facilitate this and affordable, such that the smartphones can be afforded by anyone that is interested in using it. And it has facilitated business growth. Like now, I'm here, but I can try it for you when we are here. I can send money, mobile money, to my mother in the village from here. So that is how it has made it easy to do business.
Fantastic. We're going to go, Ambassador Lovemore, you're going to get the chance to answer the same question, but I'm going to do it slightly more tricky for you, because I'm going to say, what are the top 3 things that you would like to see in terms of enabling the digital future in Zimbabwe? What are the top 3 things?
My goodness, I had more than 3. Well, first of all, as Zimbabwe, Starlink has landed in Zimbabwe, and that is already lowering the prices and the affordability of connectivity. But for Zimbabwe, let me run through what I think is necessary. First of all, we need a digital infrastructure spread right across the nation, the kids, for people to be able to access what is already available, the connectivity that already exists. Number 2, we need digital government platforms. That is very, very necessary. As Zimbabwe, we already have in the e-visa function for years. We have digital ID. We now have the e-passport, but that's not enough. We need more of those platforms so that people can access government services much, much faster. We lack digital entrepreneurs who can offer digital services to our SMEs, our health sector, education sector. But we also need digital skills. We need that to go into our education system. It's very, very important to arm our people so that they can be digitally literate, and maybe I'll end with digital financial services that will make banking and access to financial services a lot faster. We have made a little progress in this. According to a report, a 2023 report, we have a well-developed digital payment system, which is already taking care of 96% of our payments across the nation. And only 4% of our payments are cash-based. So already we have made quite some progress. So this is what is possible once we are given the facilities. And I would say those are the pillars that we need. Thank you.
I'm going to ask you one more question, actually, to Ambassador Kibedi before we're going to introduce our next speaker here up on stage. And just before I ask that question, a little bit of statistics. Agriculture in Uganda actually is 70% of the workforce and 24% of the GDP. In Zimbabwe, the equivalent numbers are 70% of the workforce and 14% of the GDP. Africa as a whole is a net food importer. In your view, Ambassador Kibedi, what can be done to make the agricultural sector more efficient?
I would say that what needs to be done, enhanced practices in terms of innovation and in terms of sustainability, because the population is growing, but the land is not expanding. So this is where we need to do more to see how the land that is accessed by the farmers can be effectively productive. To increase production out of this. And when we talk about innovation, it could also facilitate for the farmers to predict the weather, to also determine where the market is for their products. And also this innovation should run through the entire value chain, right from production, from the farm, to the logistics, to the consumer, in terms of enhanced productivity, creativity, and sustainability.
So, thank you for that. We have in this forum a truthful picture of some of the challenges. We also have some of the solutions, because what you mentioned was digitalization, predicting the weather, understanding what to use, and so forth. There are two other aspects, which is banking and insurance solutions to a rural population that still is, in many regards, still without the digital identity. That's going to be the subject of our last speaker for today, when we're going to talk about eSusFarm and their digital solution. But before that, we have a very unique person that I'm going to invite to the stage. He is a native son of Egypt. He was for many years a very senior leader in Vodafone Egypt and Etisalat Misr, or we should say and Misr. And we met on numerous occasions. I had the great opportunity to meet with him in Cairo and as part of investment delegations to the UAE, facilitated by His Excellency Jamal Al Jarwan here on the front row. I'm sure that with his background, he will be able to answer many questions regarding industrial investments into Africa. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I give you from the land of the pharaohs and the mighty pyramids, Khaled Hegazy. So when we think of eAnd, I think most of us would know that eAnd exists in the UAE. Most of you would know that eAnd exists in Pakistan and in Egypt and a few other places. But I'm going to read you the list now of all the markets in Africa where eAnd has either direct or indirect holdings. And I should also say that Khaled Hegazy is not only the Chief Operative Officer of eAnd International, he is also a board member both of PGCL and of Maroc Telecom. But direct and indirect holdings in Africa, I read you the list where they are. Egypt, Morocco, Benin, Burkina Faso, Central African Republic, Cote d'Ivoire, Gabon, Mali, Mauritania, Morocco, Niger, Togo, and Chad. Did I forget anyone? So the question is, what makes Africa interesting as an investment destination?
Okay, thank you, Erik, for allowing me this opportunity, and greetings to your excellencies, greetings to the esteemed attendees. Actually, I was very impressed with the map, with the size of Africa. I mean, we always look at the two-dimensional map of the world, and we tend to lose perspective. So it was very eye-opening. There is another thing that is very important about Africa is the young population. So the age of the population. So if we compare the median age of Africa, which is 18, to the median age of the European and Western European markets, which is 42, or even to the Asian markets, which is 31. So you realize how a young and growing population Africa has. Also, if you look at the GDP per capita, the growth over the last years, and you have shown some examples of that, then you can see that it's going to be tremendous. There is already tremendous growth in many countries in Africa, and with potential for that to grow. So the opportunity is very big. The opportunity is tremendous. But that doesn't mean there are no challenges. There are also challenges, of course. But you still have a lot of gaps in this huge geography that requires covering, which is a big opportunity for telecommunication in general. You also mentioned in the projects that Sense led was the study on the impact of telecommunication on the economy. So this leads us to, when you see a lot of potential to grow the telecommunication sector, that means it will boost the economy, which means the economy will grow, and then you go into a virtuous circle where everybody wins. So it is a very interesting destination for us to invest in.
Very good, excellent. Now, most of us are very much familiar with eHand. Who many has eHand? Hands up here as a provider in this country. I can see Khaled, you're noting those hands that were down, and they're going to have a strict follow-up later today. Some of us remember eHand when it was called Etisalat. You did the rebranding a few years ago. I think that was to signify that eHand is now so much more than Etisalat. Can you just tell the audience here the vast areas that you are now involved in addition to just telecommunications?
So eHand means Etisalat and, so meaning Etisalat and more. So that's what we mean with eHand. The name Etisalat is, of course, very ingrained in the minds of the people in this country. This was the first and only telecommunication company for many years. It was named by, may God rest his soul, the Sheikh Zayed himself. So Etisalat will always be there. So what we are going through is a journey to transform from a telco to a techco. So we're moving into becoming from a telecommunication company to becoming a technology company. And this is the philosophy behind the establishment of the 4 verticals or the 5 verticals that eHand is divided into. We have eHand UAE, which is the operator of the United Arab Emirates. That's a vertical on its own, and it brings in a very big portion of the revenue of the group. We have eHand International, which looks after the footprint of our own operators, the 15 countries that Erik mentioned, but we're also happy that we have obtained the EU approval last week for an additional 4 countries in Europe, which is Hungary, Slovakia, Serbia, and Bulgaria. And we're going to be closing the deal in the next month or so, and hopefully to integrate before the end of the year. And we also have partner markets operations where we lend our know-how, we lend our expertise to countries, to operators in countries that do not have EN, that are not part of other groups, like Ncell in Nepal, like Azarcell in Azerbaijan, like Tunisia Telecom in Tunis, and other countries that we're signing with. So that's the EN International vertical, which looks after the telecom operations outside the UAE, and of course the adjacent industries to these operators, like EN Egypt have started a microfinance company called Irada, have started a payment aggregator called SuperPay. So we have also adjacencies, but are managed by the operating company that we own in these markets. Then we have EN Enterprise. This is where it starts getting a little bit more interesting. It's not traditional telco with towers and spectrum and things that were technology a few decades ago and now are boring. But you have the potential to grow as a system, as a mega system integrator. And this is what EN Enterprise is doing. It's basically a big systems integrator selling enterprise solutions all over the world, and acquired companies like Help AG in Germany, which is the biggest provider of cybersecurity, acquired companies like Bspin in South Korea for cloud architecture, Glasshouse in Turkey for system integration. So it's a global provider of enterprise solutions on technology. And then we have EN Life, which is a global player also on consumer solutions. This is where we have things like StarsPlay, which we acquired. StarsPlay, we have things like EN Money. I don't know, you have seen the credit cards we have with MasterCard here. Actually, EN Money is the biggest issuer of credit cards. We're talking about virtual credit cards, of course, but it's the biggest issuer of credit cards in the UAE. It's actually bigger than the second and third banks combined. We have a significant share in Vuyo, the digital bank here in the UAE. So we have a lot of movement in the technology area, consumer related, from EN Life. Then we have EN Capital, which is the investment vertical of EN. This is what acquired, for instance, the 15.1% we own in Vodafone Group, making EN the biggest shareholder in Vodafone Group, with the second shareholder, I think, at 2.5%, something like that. So we continue this journey of moving from being just a telco into telco and more, or Etisalat and more, because the word Etisalat means telecommunications. So that's what EN stands for. And we're very excited about this journey. I'm personally very excited being here and being part of this transformations.
Thank you, Khaled. Now, you are a native son of Egypt. You've seen the digital transformation in Egypt firsthand, and also here in the UAE, and through your various board work, also what is going on in Morocco and in Pakistan, amongst other markets. What would your advice be to North African and Sub-Saharan African nations that want to even further digitally transform, to further elevate themselves as even more advanced markets, bridging the digital divide and enabling an larger and larger middle class of digitally enabled citizens? What is your advice?
I've been living here now for over a year and a half, and I never thought that when I travel from where I live to Europe or to the States, I feel that I'm going to a less technologically advanced place. It's very strange that everything here is done digitally, everything here in the UAE is done on the mobile, but you still have to fill forms with a pen in Germany. That was something I could not conceive of living in Egypt and going to Germany. I was always feeling the gap towards Germany. Here I feel the gap towards the UAE. I was boarding a flight from Seattle back to Dubai, and the Emirates gate, the check-in was with retina scan. So we were just very quickly passing by. I could see a very rich airlines next to ours. I'm not going to say the name of the country, with the queue going all the way there, because they're doing like everybody has always been doing, checking the passports and the printed boarding passes. While the Emirates digital transformation actually benefited the customers, benefiting the airline, benefiting the NPS of the. So this is where the end should be, is to try to take the customer journey into a seamless digital journey, improving the customer happiness, improving the customer attachment to the provider. So what we need to do is we need to transform this, to transfer this vision, to transfer this journey to our other places. So Egypt and Morocco are very well poised for growing. If we just take the simple location of Egypt and the simple location of Morocco, at the eastern tip of the continent and the western tip of the continent, northeastern tip of the continent, and they are in the middle of all the submarine cables going from Asia to Europe, and from Asia to the US, and from Europe to Africa, and from Africa to. So it's just by virtue of the geographical location, you have a very big advantage for these two countries that can hardly be matched by anybody else. But what to do with the location, this is where the advice comes in. If you just use your location as a bypass for a pipe to go through, then you're not making any upside from the value-added services. If you start building data centers and bring in the hyperscalers and cache the data in the middle instead of having larger packets of traffic flowing and so on, then you start really monetizing your geographical advantage. And in order to convince the hyperscalers to invest, in order to bring in the Amazons and the Microsofts, you need to have a very attractive investment climate. So you need to start looking at the industry-specific taxes, the industry-specific fees. You need to make this, you need to realize that the investors have always other alternatives to invest in. So even us as EN, when we look at our investments recently, for instance, in Pakistan, we were the fourth operator, the smallest operator in Pakistan. We just acquired Telenor, which was the second operator in Pakistan. So when combined, will be the biggest operator in Pakistan. So coming to decide whether to spend these hundreds of millions of dollars in Pakistan, if you look at it from the CEO of PTCL, of our operator in Pakistan, he sees this as the biggest decision he has to make, and he has to fight for that and so on. But if you look at it from our side, we have other alternatives. Well, maybe we could buy an operator in Europe. Maybe you could buy a 5G license in Egypt. Maybe you could buy. So the big investors, they always have alternatives. So for the countries to attract these big investors, they need to be aware of that, and they need to make the business case attractive for the investors to come. So that's my advice for the regulators, is to be aware of the competition, of the global competition, and try to make your countries more attractive for investment.
What makes a country attractive?
Most of this I learned from him, so.
Well, thank you very much. I think it's a good question. And what make a country attractive? I think number one is to be politically stable. Security and stability is the number one prerequisite before any capital comes to the market. Second of all, I think transparencies and how advanced the regulations are made. I think this is fundamental. In UAE, I think it's witnessing today how attractive we have become to the foreign investors. Today, UAE FDI inflow has reached about 800 billion dirham. I expect by the end of 2024, it will exceed 1 trillion dirham. And we have scored, according to United Nations UNOCTAD, as being #1 FDI destinations in the Middle East and North Africa and West Asia, South Asia. So I think UAE is a good example how advanced they have built their infrastructures. You have, be it soft infrastructure or hard. Soft, and what I mean is the regulations and the legislations and the rules and the laws, and how agile and updated frequently that you need to be strongly and internationally competitive. Because whom you are competing today for an FDI, competing with US, which has been ranked #1 for many, many, many years, and they're still dominating. The #1 FDI destinations globally is United States of America. The #1 FDI destinations for Middle East and North Africa and West and South Asia is UAE. When it comes to Asia, there's competition going on between China, India, and Indonesia. India is advancing extremely well because they have really, since the Honorable Prime Minister Modi came into power many years ago, he has immediately tackled the regulations. And he have equalized the treatment between foreign investors and the local investors. So there are a lot really to deal with, but these are the soft and the hard infrastructure. You need to have in the country the best infrastructure possible. The best airlines, the best roads, the transport, the customs, the clearance. It's all the ecosystem must really synchronize. Thank you.
Everybody's talking about AI nowadays, and with the progress of things, I'm afraid that we're not going to see AI fully developed first in Sweden. Maybe it's in the UAE, or why not in Uganda, right? So the world is progressing so fast in these nations. But the question is this: is AI the future of man or the doom of man? Question goes first to Khaled Hegazy.
Oh, it's an interesting question, a very interesting question. I had the pleasure of visiting Meta, Microsoft, Google, and T-Mobile in the States in end of beginning of February this year. And I was so impressed with the research that's been done into AI. The advancement is crazy. It's not just the consumer easy to flashy things like the circle search they have. Have you seen the circle search on Samsung? So now apparently with the AI engine on the new Samsung phones, you play a video and then you can just, with the Samsung pen, you can just circle like the shoe that the singer is wearing, and it would immediately tell you where to buy it and how much it's for and so on. So but the research that Microsoft is putting, for instance, shortening the lab testing on substitution of lithium in car batteries from 3 years to 3 months by modeling is amazing. I mean, normally these tests would take in a lab 3 years, and now they can do them in 3 months using AI modeling. It's very, very impressive, the amount of research being put in that. So it will. I don't think it will be the doom of man, because I'm trying to be optimistic, but it is scary. Of course, the rate of advance is very, very high, and the investment is huge. But the investment is, I think, those who will invest more in what will make money from AI, not just the flashy shout, are going to benefit more from this research. So,
thank you, Khaled Hegazy. Thank you. Comment from Ambassador Kibedi. Do you have a benign or malign view of artificial intelligence? Doom or the future of mankind? Or in between?
So what I could say, if it's rightly used, it will be helpful in the areas that pertain human beings daily, like in education, like in health, like in food production, as long as it's not misused to encroach on people's privacy. Because during my last posting before coming here, when I visited your company, Ericsson, I first learned this from the visit I had there, where they showed me a tree that in the future, a plant will ask you and also inform you what amount of water it needs. Then also, you can just use your phone when a train is coming to see which wagon is empty. So for me, I believe if it's effectively used, it will enhance on efficiency. For example, in health, where you find that at times people die before their day by poor diagnostic. So this will help in food production to know what you need to grow your crop or to feed your animal, what you don't need. In food production, you talked about Africa, where it has all it takes to be a food basket of the world, but where still in some places they're importing food. So I think AI will help to know where food is in surplus and where it is needed. So it depends on the applicability. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador Kibedi. Now, all of us in this room, we take ICT skills for granted, right? We think it's a natural thing and it would be difficult to live without it. All are not as blessed as we are. And bridging that gap is one particular man in East Africa that has done enormous strides in educating young Africans that otherwise would not get the chance to learn ICT skills. Our next speaker has received numerous awards, including 2015 Young African Leaders Initiative Program, Global Talent under the 2018 Unleash Innovation Lab Program, and the 2020 World Literacy Foundation Ambassador Program. He has helped educate tens of thousands of children in Ghana. He is live with us right here today from Accra, Ghana. He is not doing this to make money, but to change people's lives. He is, wait for it, Daniel Kwaku Ganyoame, the founder of Africa ICT Rights, with us online from Accra, Ghana. Daniel, so you have helped tens of thousands of students in all over Ghana in ICT education, children that otherwise would not have gotten the opportunity. So tell us, how was that? How did you get the idea behind Africa ICT Rights?
Okay, thank you very much, Erik. First of all, I want to say my greetings from Accra, Ghana. And I want to say a happy 25th anniversary to Sense Strategy. I'm delighted to join you guys all today at the Capital Club in Dubai for this occasion. I want to thank you once again for this opportunity. I first of all got this idea when I first had a first-hand experience with the lack of access to information communication technology in an underserved community when I was working for an IT firm here in Ghana as a tech support engineer in 2006. A client calling one day about a technical problem and I have to travel about 6 hours just to realize that the issue has to do with his cable. So as an IT engineer, I knew the potential that technology have, and we know that technology can drive education, innovation, and economic growth. So in 2007, I got inspiration to start Africa ICT Right to ensure that technology reach everyone, even in most remote areas, to bridge the knowledge and then the economic opportunity. So I believe that access to technology can transform lives and community, enabling education, healthcare, and entrepreneurship, and etc. So that's where I got my inspiration from. Yeah, thanks.
And your website says that the jobs of the future will require STEM, standing for, I'm sure you all know, science, technology, engineering, and maths. I'm sure that everybody would agree in this room that STEM education is important. But how does it work in practice, the work that you're doing, and how is it making a tangible difference in people's lives in Ghana?
Okay. Yeah, so we are empowering people through STEM education because, in today's world, everybody, we need the 21st century skills, which is critical thinking, communication, creativity, problem solving, collaboration, and all these skills. And these are all skills that are essential in today's workforce. So for us as an organization, we want to drive this move where we want to equip people so they can have these skills. And we do that. For now, we have done that through over 100 public schools in Ghana, reaching over 20,000 through that means. And we do this through 6 key main areas. One is through our digital literacy training program. And through digital training program, we are able to equip young people and adults with the essential knowledge they need to navigate to this technology-driven world. Most of this training include basic coding skills, basic computer skills like digital skills, robotics, digital communication, etc., which are all vital for today's modern job market. So that's one of the ways we do that. Another way we also do that is through our STEM education initiatives. And we run programs to introduce students to STEM concepts at early age. And this include setting up ICT labs in schools, offering coding and robotic clubs, and also organizing STEM outreach to communities. And this initiative main aim is to inspire people for science and technology and preparing students for future careers. So basically that's what we do as an organization. So these are some of the things we do. Another thing that we also do in terms of preparing kids for these skills is bridging the urban-rural divide. So focusing on bridging the underserved and rural communities, we are able to bring technology to places that often lack these resources. So this helps leverage the playing ground, provide the opportunity for students and adults who will otherwise be left behind. So that's one of the ways we also do that. And then also women and girls. So, there's a strong emphasis for gender inclusion. And for us as an organization, we ensure that women and girls who are often underrepresented in the STEM field receive training and encouragement to pursue these careers or these areas. And we not only encourage gender equality, but we also maximize the talent for future tech innovations. And so basically, that's some of the things that we do as a means of driving STEM here in Ghana.
Thank you, Daniel. If I understand Daniel rightly, they have helped hundreds and hundreds of schools in Ghana, and more than 30,000 students have benefited from this. I think that's worthy of an applause from the Capital Club Dubai.
Thanks.
You are also not only helping in the ICT sector, but also helping the healthcare sector, and in particular pregnant women. Can you tell us a little bit more about that work?
Okay, yeah. So our health program is basically targeting at maternal health and child delivery. So what we do is that we have a mobile solution, which is our maternal health app, which is one of the critical tools that we use technology to improve maternal health outcomes in underserved communities. So by combining technology with healthcare, this app enables pregnant women with information, support, access to healthier pregnancy and also safer childbirth, making significant impact in the health sector here in Ghana and beyond. This app won the best e-health app in Ghana in 2022, that's 2022. Because of the work that we are doing to help reduce maternal mortality. So this app basically helps health facilities to be able to register pregnant women, give them unique ID, able to give them referrals, able to schedule their antenatal visit. It's also able to give them, messages pertaining to their state of their pregnancy. It's also able to track their complications. It's also able to give them a hotline where they can to reach health personnel when they have any challenges. And then also we are able to also track where they deliver, so in terms of delivery. And then the app goes beyond just the delivery, but we also go beyond, it also includes child immunization. So we are able to also take the data from the delivery, and then we are able to move to the immunization, where we are able to provide immunization service for these kids. So basically that's how the app works and how it's supporting the health system here in Ghana.
Thank you, Daniel. We have with us the ambassadors, their excellencies, the ambassadors of Uganda and Zimbabwe. You are expanding from Ghana. Tell us a little bit about your expansion plans, and when will we see Africa ICT rights in Zimbabwe and in Uganda?
Okay, thanks. We as an organization, we are poised to replicate our success from Ghana to create positive transformation impact on education, technology, and economic empowerment in the East African countries, especially in Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. We are currently developing a strategic plan for the next 3 years to guide our expansion to the East Bloc, the Eastern African Bloc. And we currently are doing that through different means. So one of the strategies is scaling our digital literacy program. So just as in Ghana, we are also focused on equipping students in East African countries with essential digital skills. And this will include setting up ICT labs in schools, providing access to computers, delivering training in digital literacy, digital skills, coding, and STEM education. And the goal is to empower students to thrive in a technology-driven world, enhancing their future for job prospects. And then we're also going to, one of the strategies also to strengthen STEM education. So we're also going to bring our STEM programs or STEM initiatives, such as the robotic labs and coding boot camps, the STEM labs, and etc. By partnering with local educational institutions, we are going to work to inspire the next generation of tech-savvy youth capable of driving innovation in this area. Another area that we're also looking at in terms of our strategy is empowering women and girls in STEM. So we already know that East Africa is already known for promoting gender in STEM, and programs are going to be tailored to encourage girls to pursue STEM education, such as mentorship, scholarship, female-led tech clubs, and etc., to help bridge the gender gap in the technology and engineering field. So that's one of the strategies we are also looking at implementing. And then we are also looking at entrepreneurship and small businesses. So in East Africa, there's a vibrant entrepreneurship skills already, particularly in the tech sector. So we plan to provide digital skills training for entrepreneurs and small businesses, helping them to leverage technology for growth, improving market access, and creating jobs for their communities. So that's one of the elements of our strategy. And then the fifth one is on focus on connectivity and access. We all know that connectivity is a problem when it comes to Africa. And one of the key challenges in East Africa is also the digital divide, especially in rural areas. So our plan is to include establishing ICT hubs and internet access points that will bring digital resources closer to underserved communities. And this will enable students, job seekers, and local business to connect with the global digital economy. So that's one of the and then the key pillar is also collaborate with local partners, because we as an organization believe in collaboration and partnership. Because we know that for any successful expansion can only involve a strong collaboration with the local government, schools, NGOs, and community organizations. So we plan to work closely with these stakeholders to adopt our programs to this unique culture and educational landscape in these East African countries to ensure that the intervention that we are going to be enrolling will be impactful and sustainable. Yeah, so basically that's what the plan that we have. So we have a 3-year plan, and we are hoping that by next year, from January, we'll start putting these plans in action.
Daniel, your work is absolutely commendable. Fantastic work that you do. We are so blessed to have you doing this important job in East Africa. in West Africa, in Ghana, Accra, and coming now to East Africa. Now, from all over the club, first of all, anyone that wants to reach out to Daniel, I'm going to provide the context and everything. But before we proceed, a really big applause to Daniel. Thank you so much. We spoke a little bit earlier this afternoon about the challenges in making the agricultural sector more efficient. And since we like solving things here at the club, we don't only present a challenge, but also a potential solution. So a key to enabling the agricultural transformation is the use of digital techniques. And one of those absolutely important keys is held by one man, the one and only Chief Operative and Chief Visionary Officer of eSusFarm in South Africa. I give you Mr. Watson Matsa.
Thank you. Good day to everybody. Good day to Ambassador of Zimbabwe, Ambassador of Uganda. Good day to Erik and the team. Happy anniversary, happy 25th anniversary. And we're really fortunate enough to have you in the room and to allow us to discuss the issues of tomorrow's Africa, powered by the youth.
Thank you so much. So one of the fundamental problems in rural Africa is the lack of a digital identity. Now, just imagine that this we take for granted, all of us in this room, to have a digital identity, and we sort of, we maybe even swear and curse every time we have to use the Emirates ID, right? But how blessed we are. Because if you don't have a digital identity, how can you get a bank loan? How can you get an insurance? Now, there is one man that has figured out how to solve this in rural Africa, building a digital footprint through the work that is carried out in the farmlands, even for those that are unbanked, uninsured, and without a digital passport, or any passport for that matter. Tell us, how do you do it?
Yeah, thank you very much. So it's been quite interesting, right? It's been quite interesting. Africa has lagged quite far behind in terms of it having the proper digital infrastructure. So, which means that there's a lot of things that are not measured, reported, and verified. There's no MRV models that are quite robust across the whole African continent. And to really bridge the gap inside the capital markets, you need to have measurable data, reported data, verifiable data. And without all of those components, you actually cannot ask for anything from the capital markets because they rely on information to actually make things happen. So we set out as a youthful team. We started this project in 2011 as a concept note in varsity in Rhodes University, South Africa. And I was doing a double major in accounting economics, and my business partner was doing a PhD in agricultural economics. And we're looking at how do we make an impact in terms of financial inclusion at the time, because economics was where we met in one place. And we found that when we were reading our textbooks, it's very surprising. You go in South Africa, it's not really a first world country, but you're learning about first world concepts in a country that doesn't have first world infrastructure. So we quickly spotted the differences between what we were reading and the reality. And what we were reading is that there was a big information asymmetry gap inside the whole of the African continent. And whereas the textbook was saying that there isn't information asymmetry, so therefore capital markets should operate effectively and efficiently. And that is the truth if there isn't any information asymmetry. But Africa is way behind, and realize the information asymmetry not only lags on having an identity, but lags in a lot of things in terms of understanding of the underlying risk variables that are inherent in every single market, agriculture being one of them. What are the underlying risks between farmers performing well? A lot of the risks between farmers not having bad weather? What are the risks between farmers having crops that are with pests? What are the risks between farmers not having market? Those are all the critical data elements that were not apparent and not really there. So causing this information asymmetry such that, one knows more than the other, prices are out of sync, and such that to a point whereby you have the coffee industry whereby the smallholder farmer basically earns 1/8 or 2/8 of the value of what they're actually farming. And that's what you're getting in these markets, because end of the day, no one can prove what you have done, how you have done it. And so that makes life even more and more difficult for smallholder farmers in Africa.
So Watson, if I understand it correctly, first of all, you are providing the information and the tools that these farmers need to understand both what crops they should have. You get a better visibility on whether it's going to be a turn for the worse on the weather. You give them all of these tips. And then also information so that they are not screwed by the middleman, so to speak. So all of this is going on. But then you're also collecting data. You're building a digital platform whereby you are basically building a digital identity through the farm. Can you just expand a little bit on that and first explain how that led to bankable solutions? We're going to talk other financial products in just a few minutes. But if you can start the link between digital information in the farm and how that makes a farmer bankable.
Yeah. So my background is in banking. I worked in one of the top 4 firms in South Africa, FNB. And one of the critical things we did at the bank, I worked in the data analytics departments and divisions. And one of the critical things we did was understanding your transactional data and also your credit history data, and then combining the two to find out exactly where do you lie on bankability or even just credit worthiness, right? So those are the sort of the bedrock of it all. And when we now apply the same thought and the same theory behind agriculture, we found that there isn't any foundational data regarding the farmer's history, right? So this is where it all started. And most of the times, when we look at solutions that are out there, we are seeing solutions that are monitoring the output of the farm, which is basically how green is the vegetables, how much yield has the farm done. These are all output matrix. And we saw that no one's monitoring what goes into a farm for it to get an output, because it's like measuring revenue, right? So revenue is an output. It's not an input. An input is operations, right? It makes the business work, so you have an output. So no one was actually measuring what is the operational activities of a farmer on the ground that impact his output. And by doing that, we're able to create something very, very unique. We call it our farmer behavior score, whereby we're able to understand what kind of behaviors farmers are doing on the ground that are yielding the right result at the end of the farming season. Because as a banker, I'm not funding a crop, I'm funding a human and his actions. And an inability to understand his action is an inability for me to actually give him finance. So we saw that big gap in not having enough farmer behavior data in the market. So there's not enough farmer behavior data to make lending decisions or to even make insurance decisions. And this was the starting point of it all, to try to create a farmer score whereby we can rate every farmer according to what the best practice is. And also this will help us understand exactly how well this farmer can actually earn additional income from good quality crops. And by doing this, we're the only company in Africa that does this. It's quite novel in that regard because we've built this basic algorithm over some years to allow us to really, number one, understand the activities, but also be able to tell him what he needs to do next on his farming process. So being able to provide tailor-made recommendations so that we're able to see if the farmer can adopt the new practices of today, be generated agriculture today, but maybe tomorrow there'll be a new technology, a new seed, a new ways of doing things, and they always need to be guided on how to transition from the old ways of doing things to the new ways, but but at the same time measuring how fast are they doing the transition. So we are doing all of that, and that was the missing data point in the financial sector, in the capital market, and we offered it then so our first product was not actually linked to the insurance sector. We said, let us go to government projects because they've got a lot of money into the sectors. I'm sure they're concerned which farmers have got high scores versus low scores so they can target farmers better. And when we did that, we got a few clients. We got some clients in Swaziland first. We got a client in South Africa next. And then we realized something interesting, right? So it wasn't enough to just have an algorithm that can score the farmer on his practices, because you needed him to sort of upload the data so that you can have more data to calculate and process. So he didn't have enough incentive for him to do it. At the same time, these agricultural programs are not designed in a manner whereby they are ready to do change management to receive new solutions. So we have to learn that the first process. Then we asked ourselves, okay, fine, who else needs this data that is so important about farmer scores and rating farmers? And the capital markets was again the answer. And then we said, okay, fine, but which ones between banks and insurance companies? And we realized banks need you to de-risk a farmer for them to come in to the last person you go to. So insurance companies became the first one, because the insurance companies actually, all they do, insurance companies, is insure against data, right? So they rely on a lot of data for them to actually provide financial protection. And we started having hits and hits. Our first insurance company was in Uganda. Now we've got a Nigerian one. We're looking into a Rwanda national agricultural scheme that is providing 40% subsidies for small farmers to get insurance, but they've got a penetration of only about 10,000 farmers in a country with 2 million farmers, citing issues of structural issues around too expensive for the smaller farmer to provide insurance, too costly for the administration of the insurance, too risky because of no data in those elements. So by providing our blockchain parametric insurance with AI farming insights, we're actually trying to bring down those structural barriers in agriculture such that smaller farmers can actually now thrive for a better tomorrow.
Thank you, Watson. So I think your innovative solutions for providing information, banking services, and insurance to rural farmers in Southern Africa, already in multiple countries, that is worthy of a great applause.
Thank you.
So first question out here. Please go ahead, sir.
Good afternoon. My name is Joe Osawaye. I'm the Chief Inspiration Officer of the Kiza Group at the DIFC. Congratulations, Erik. 25 years of business is not a joke. As an entrepreneur, I know the hurdles you've gone through. My question is to you, Erik, having worked in 41 African countries, and then our excellencies, the ambassadors. I think it will make a lot of sense if we could add some value to our raw produces that we have in a lot of African countries before exporting. What are the challenges that we face that we cannot add value to our raw materials so that we can get value when it's exported?
I think industrialization is already taking root on the continent. In the case of Zimbabwe, agriculture provides about 65% of the inputs into our manufacturing. So I think that linkage from the primary production and trying to increase the value chain is going to help us. And this is happening in two ways. Zimbabwe is open for business, can be replicated in so many countries on the continent. So there is economic transformation, the ease of doing business, and this is going to attract FDI and investment in our countries. The Continental Free Trade Area, I think, also provides a great opportunity. Number one, there's competition now amongst African countries. No country wants to be just a net importer, but every country wants to be able to export. And so, again, it's going to drive industrialization and manufacture on the continent. In addition, it now makes a lot more sense for external investors to invest in an African country and have manufacturing plants, because your investment is going to benefit from not just the domestic market of the country you have invested in, but you will have a whole continent-wide market. If you bring finished goods into Zimbabwe, they will not have access or free access to the rest of the continent because they have no African identity, but there is no local content. So if you invest in an African country and your products have a local content, they have a local identity, then they have easy access into the whole continental market. So it's going to make a lot of sense.
My question is to Your Excellency, Ambassador Kibedi, about the pipeline. You mentioned the Uganda pipeline, the oil pipeline, and you said that the project is already on. And so could you shed a little bit more light on the project, where it is at, and when do you think it can be completed?
Thank you so much. So far, where the project is, they've started laying the pipes to connect from Kingfisher and Leng, the two oils, to the correction facility. There, they've reached there. And then from there, it will be connected to Tanga. They are working towards, the target is, by the time we get the first drop of the oil, which is expected in November next year, it should be also ready, so that the production starts and also ready for transportation to the east coast of the to the port.
Tomorrow's Africa Summit, what have you prepared of yesterday? There is no tomorrow if there is no yesterday. What is the takeaway from yesterday for the tomorrow in Africa is the question I wanted to ask. Thank you very much.
Who wants to go ahead? Who wants to answer?
Well, thank you. I'll give an example. In a good year, when Zimbabwe has rain, we are self-sufficient in our major grain, maize, corn. But when we don't have adequate rain, like in this current season, then we have gaps. And so I think these are lessons that we are already learning. Right now, Zimbabwe has been constructing dams in order to climate-proof our agriculture. We now have as many as 10,000 small, medium, and large-size dams. What we need is now the equipment and the mechanization to for us to be able to adopt modern irrigation systems. And I think these are lessons that we're learning with climate change coming, with El Nino-induced droughts coming, and how do we climate-proof our agriculture? And that we believe this is one way of doing it. Another way is that the informal sector in agriculture, for example, is very, very big. And in many small countries, when you want your operators to be registered, they think all that the government wants is to tax us. But I think people are now learning, we're educating our small sector SMEs, that when they get registered, they are able to be banked, and when their cash flow is visible to the bankers, then the banks can have some confidence to offer them loans. Once they are visible, then government policies will be able to react to what they are experiencing. And in fact, government policies will benefit from the informal sector because they are on the book, they are registered. So I believe these are lessons that we are learning from behind, and we are better equipped to prepare ourselves for the future.
My question is for Mr. Khaled for Egypt. Now UAE has done an incredible job in terms of making it very business friendly here in the UAE and made it very attractive for FDI. Can you elaborate on Egypt in terms of what is Egypt doing in terms of attracting FDIs? So, for example, is there a free zone? And what is the government doing in working towards strengthening the ecosystem and really attracting FDI?
Okay, there are free zones in Egypt for a very long time, for 40 years, maybe longer, and the government is constantly trying to improve the business climate. Very recently, there were another round of easing of the steps for the SMEs and for the SOHOs to encourage growth in this sector. There has been a lot of improvement on the judiciary and the legislative systems to make the legal systems more predictable and more faster. A lot of incentives on for the foreign direct investments in terms of guaranteeing the repatriation of dividends in foreign currency. So the issues that are facing the Egyptian investment climate, mainly in the last few years, are related to macroeconomic issues rather than rules and regulations issued by the government. That doesn't mean there isn't room to improve. There is room to improve on that. But the Egyptian economy has suffered several rounds of devaluation since the political instability in 2011 and 2013. So the two revolutions we had. Then the Egyptian pound in 2011 was, the US dollar was 5.7 Egyptian pounds. Now it's almost 50. So it's at 1/10 of its value at that time. From one side, it's attractive for exports out of Egypt because if the costs are competitive, then your international prices are competitive. But at the same time, with the inflation and the government trying to curb inflation, they tend to increase interest rates. So the interest rates in Egypt have also gone up significantly in the last few years, which makes it challenging to beat the bank's interest rates in terms of return. So if I want to borrow money and I pay 25% interest, then my project has to make much more than that in order to, while the increase of the interest rates helps curb inflation, at the same time it increases the cost of job creation, it increases the cost of investment in a country. So it's a difficult balance. But if I talk about the sector of telecommunication and information technology, what really has room for improvement are things like what I talked about generally in Africa at the beginning about sector-specific costs. So you have a value-added tax in Egypt of 10 to 15%, but you have value-added tax on telecom of 23%. So you have from one side, you need to look at telecommunication as an enabler to the growth of the economy, not as a luxury that you need to overtax. The sector-specific costs, also not only taxes, include things like the cost of spectrum. So you end up with a country of 120 plus million people with 4 operators, and there is a huge demand on spectrum. Yet the cost is prohibitive. And the spectrum is not really something that is costing money. I mean, it's just the right to use a certain place in the air. So while countries like UAE and Saudi are availing massive spectrum for the operators to really grow the speeds and the capacity of data. Still, countries like Egypt and Pakistan and other countries are still treating the spectrum as a scarce resource that we have to really price very high and maximize the return from the beginning, rather than allow the operators to grow, and therefore using your revenue share as a government, you will get more than that a little bit in the longer term, not even longer term, I mean, even in the midterm, you get much more benefit from the operators growing. So you also get things like allowing the operators to invest in infrastructure, not only relying on the government-owned incumbent. So you should liberalize the infrastructure more and more. And this is not just a Middle East or Egypt-specific phenomena, but this has been a requirement from all the UN agencies since, I think it was 2006, was supposed to liberate the infrastructure everywhere. And still there are countries until today use the infrastructure as a competitive advantage to the government-owned incumbent rather than a tool to grow the market. So
we're now going to thank our online speakers. A big applause to Daniel and to Watson. Thank you so much. You're going to stay here for just a few more seconds because we're going to start a little video that basically features their clients, their friends, and people that help build Sense Strategy.
Greetings from Vancouver, Canada. Congratulations to Sense Strategy, Erik, and the entire team.
Greetings from Sharjah, UAE. Happy 25th anniversary Sense Strategy.
Congratulations on 25 years of success, Sense Strategy. Best wishes from Johannesburg, South Africa. May the coming years be even more prosperous.
Warm greetings from Brussels and congratulations on Sense Strategy's 25th anniversary.
Greetings from Ankara, Turkey. Happy 25th year of Sense Strategy.
From Stockholm, I wish you all the best at your anniversary, 25 years.
Happy 25 years anniversary, Sense Strategy. Greetings from Estonia.
From Berlin, congratulations for 25 years of strategy and innovation. It has been an amazing journey, and I am excited to see what the future will bring.
Sense Strategy, a well-deserved, fantastic 25-year anniversary. Cheers!